Welcome to the Fit Affiliate podcast, where we talk about behavior and behavior-based conversations as it relates to CrossFit affiliate owners and coaches. My name's Lisa Hetherington. I'm your co-host alongside Chuck and Tony, who are the founders of Fit Affiliate. Today's episode is an awesome one. And I know I say that every week, but this is a really important episode. Most affiliate owners, when they've reached out to Fit Affiliate and they're asked what is their main struggle, it comes down to their team, feeling like their team is disengaged, they're not interested, they're just there for the hour that they get paid, they're not fulfilling the same mission, don't see the bigger picture. And it's frustrating to owners, and it's also probably very frustrating for the team themselves. So this episode is about how to engage your team. Chuck and Tony have some great insight in this. They've got lots of experience in this area. They've helped many affiliate owners. So I'm sure you're going to get a lot out of this today. If you have further questions or you have an issue that you want to try and get some clarity around and some help solving, reach out to us. We've got a link below for 1 hour, one problem for a call with Chuck and Tony. Use the code podcast. That call is free. Remember, if you like the podcast, please share it with people you may also think get some value from it. We appreciate your support. Please like or subscribe. Follow us on whichever platform it is that you're listening to so you don't miss an episode. All right, guys, without further ado, let's rip into today's episode. And welcome back to another episode of the Fit Affiliate podcast. And welcome back this morning. We have Chuck and Tony with us. Chuck has returned from his little vacation and he's ready to go this morning.
And Lisa has a picture on the wall.
I do have a picture on the wall. I thought I'd make it clear that this is a new office space for you. So there you go. I've got artwork now for you to look at.
Very sophisticated.
All right. I know we've got fancy now. We've got backdrops. So we're going high tech. All right, gentlemen, I thought today for our chat, there are a couple of things that have been circling around in the affiliate landscape. I thought it would be good to chat about. One of them is a post that you guys did on Instagram this week. Is about, employees who are connected will help you move forward, and those who are disconnected, they're not going to help you follow the path. And I thought that would be good to chat about is, people have, or affiliate owners, we have staff, we have coaches, and think that we're all rowing the boat in the same direction, but some ways about keeping the staff or getting your team engaged and connected would be a good little mini topic to kick us off today.
Just throw them right to the wolves again.
I enjoy this once a week.
I guess since that's such a broad and universal thing, is there a specific context, specific example, or a specific, problem that we're looking at where we work backwards to diagnose that hey, this problem exists because the staff aren't engaged?
Well, let's look at it from the perspective of you feel like you've got 5 coaches and they're all doing 5 very different things, and no one seems to be, engaged in helping to bring the mission or push the mission forward because they're all I'm just here to do what I get paid for an hour and then go home.
What were they originally hired to do?
Well, they were originally hired to coach class for an hour, but nothing else was communicated to them. So there you go. Problem solved.
Well, but yes, trickle down, does it exist further down the line for everybody, even the people that are hired correctly, onboarded correctly? There's a level of staff retention and ascension that needs to exist through better use of engagement. But that's just such a broad talking point that didn't know if there was a specific angle to the dangle.
Well, I assume the conversation you're referring to is the influence post. Yes, is that the one? The influence.
Yep.
In that, generally speaking, humans are largely in possession of the solution to their problem, clarity or otherwise. It's as it applies to when we need other people to be on the same page. We find ourselves most often in possession of a frustration, right? Because all of a sudden I'm like, I can uniquely control my perspective. I can uniquely control my narrative as it applies to clarity. If I'm not good at something, I can improve my skill set. When I need somebody else to do something, the question is, what the hell is wrong with them? Why are they doing it like that? And I think that that's really where the fundamental frustration exists for most affiliate owners, is that common sense does not reign supreme, right? Everybody's like, what the fuck were they thinking? I mean, if we've done 100 calls 100 times, some version of that narrative has come up, right? Where there's a problematic employee, or there's a, I wouldn't even say a problematic employee, but just a general what the fuck moment that happens throughout the week. A client, a gym, or a coach texts you at 4:25 and says that they can't make it to the 4:30 a.m. class. So you got to get up. You're like, how the hell did that even happen? Like, how would you think that was okay? There's lots of those things, but it really comes down to the conversation of what are you doing to influence their behavior otherwise, right? And I think ultimately that's the key frustration, is that most affiliate owners are either A, not in possession of the skill that is influence, or they overlook the necessity of the skill that is influence. And potentially that's just because they're overwhelmed. Does that make sense? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I think, and the term, as you said in the post, that the term influence and influencer tend to be way overused, and people can get confused with the concepts and want to stay away from. They can see influence as a manipulation rather than, for what it is with others.
Well, language matters. I mean, and it's no surprise that it's one of my favorite things to do is to take a word that is truly and incredibly important and highlight it for the fact that as humans, we have overused the words and lost completely what the actual meaning of the word is. And so it is for sure a recurring theme of us to bring back to light this simple, elegant solution to their problem that is no longer simple and elegant, not because it's not simple and elegant, but because they've overcomplicated what is the solution, which is influence, right? Like now social media and society as a whole, influence has become this whole other thing. But like, I think Chuck said it on the last podcast he was on, was like, every human should probably How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And you'd realize just how foundational that skill is, and how absent of manipulation that skill is, and how that really just makes you be, it's the framework for how to be a good human to other people.
I think it's a helpful way to like contextualize the, maybe one of the things that we can appreciate through fitness that's applicable to all of this is that nearly everything is a skill that can be learned and improved. Like keeping employees engaged is a skill. Being a likable human is a skill. And so the first piece of, what is the first piece of really developing any kind of skill is building a level of awareness of like intentionality and developing that skill.
Yeah. I mean,
is it also an awareness as well that you, and being prepared to say that I don't have that skill, or recognizing that, so someone might think that, being a good human is something that's either inherent or it's not something that you can, acquire proficiency at.
Well, I think if we step back from the frustration of like, how do I get my fucking coaches to do what I want them to do, right? And like all those moving parts, and we instead step back into a singularity of focus, which is what it means to be a coach, right? And so almost everybody, I assume, that's listening to this podcast is a coach in some degree or fashion. And so naturally, the entire point of coaching is the transfer of belief, right? I think. And so what that really truly means is that to be a high performer in anything in life, most notably though, as a coach, is your ability to hold people to a higher standard, right? Any high performer in any industry or subset of industries in general has that same pattern of behavior, and that generally anybody around them, they tend to hold those people to higher standards of execution. And as a coach, it's really what your whole career is, right? Like when you come in and I make the the contractual commitment to you that is, I'm going to help you solve your problem. I'm not guaranteeing that it's going to be easy, nor can I guarantee it's going to be fun, but I guarantee together we're going to solve this problem, right? That is the contractual agreement between a coach and a client. The point of that, though, is that I, as the coach, believe in you far more than you likely believe in yourself. I'm able to do that, though, because I'm in possession of a handful of different pieces of advice and data that allow me to know that your solution is not as dire as it seems. Right? And one of the reasons that I'm able to know that is that I'm not caught up in the complexity and the minutia of the day to day that you are, and I can see past all that, and I can strip down most of those layers. So at its core, really all coaching is influencing, right? It's getting you to make better decisions because I'm going to hold you to the highest possible standard of yourself as a person. Because by doing that, I can ensure not only your success, but anybody around you's success. But ultimately, that's what I agreed to do, right? Because I believe that you're capable of that. So I'm going to hold you to it, right? And so as coaches, I think most gym owners understand that part of it. Like that's what they're supposed to do. Where this always breaks down, and it's in every single category, is that when gym owners move to gym owner and subsequently they move to becoming a boss, they don't think about being the boss as being a coach, right? And so that framework follows you. Just because you became the boss doesn't mean you become a dick, right? Like doesn't mean you just tell people what to do and just to go expect them to do it, right? What would happen if you treated your clients like that when you were coaching them, right? You would be equally as dumbfounded as to why the hell Lisa has nagging pain when she squats. Why doesn't she just squat below parallel and just do it the right way? Well, you didn't ever tell her to. Right? You didn't influence her to make that decision. And so that's really where it comes down to, is that people forget that coaching is purely persuasion. Right? And that persuasion is founded on belief in that, like, I believe in you. I believe that Chuck is capable of great things, and I'm going to ensure that those things come to fruition because I believe in him and I know that it's what he wants, what he needs, and so I'm going to influence him to make better decisions. Right? That's, I think, easier to get people to understand conceptually, is to like, the reason your clients, your coaches and your team members are not responding to you is because you're not coaching them. You're not influencing them.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that's a really good point, and a good way to think about that. Anything you want to add on that one, Chuck?
Maybe a helpful thing for owners is to think about it, through the lens of like the magic wand. It's like, cool, you're not happy with how your staff is engaged. Do you even know what it would look like if it were going right? Yeah. And so have you identified what the actual gap to close is between where you're at and unhappy and what you would actually need to have happen? Okay, cool. So like now that we have this list of, tasks or expectations or whatever it is that like hopefully this engaged staff member would perform, do they know that those things would be desirable or advantageous for them to perform? Do they know that they have the ability to control the performance of those things? Do they know that the owner wants those things done? If they do they know how to do it? Do they have the skill of doing it? Have they been taught how to do it? Do they have some like system for doing it? I think just by even understanding what it would look like if it was working correctly, it's better than having just the consistent complaint of like, hey, well, fuck, how many businesses are truly, completely, fully, totally, happily satisfied with the level of engagement and productivity of their employees?
Yep.
And so, there's some level to which it always exists, but I think for the average affiliate owner, because as you mentioned earlier, they got hired just like, hey, you're here to coach a class for this much money for this class, coach this class. And then you look a couple years later and you're like, I also want you to now carry this sword into battle to help us like win this mission in the local community and like win the hearts and minds of the people and over deliver on your promise to the clients and coach to a much higher standard than the one that existed when you came in, and be a better person than I was for you to even model as an influential human at that stage of the journey.
Mm.
That's getting rambly, but yeah.
Yeah.
Figure out what it would even have to
And
look like to be correct, to identify what maybe some of those shortcomings are.
yeah, and I think that's almost even a nice tidy segue into another question I had today is that you know, why affiliate owners should or should not care about the gym next door or down the road. I think what happens is people see another affiliate and they go, well, they see their coaches all seem to just be magically doing the right things, and you can fall in that comparison trap going, well, why aren't my coaches doing the same things? Even though you don't see behind the curtain of that other affiliate to know if they're having the same issues or struggles. Perception is, truth until proven otherwise. But when you talk about, what does that look like? Quite often they're comparing themselves to, oh, well, I saw, box XYZ over the other side of the world. All their coaches seem to love it, but mine don't seem to love it. And get into that comparison.
Every time you say affiliate owners, in the generality of that, I'm like, oh shit, she's gonna drag me right into the snake pit. But not always the case. I mean, comparison is the thief of joy, right? So, I mean, if nothing else, the first question isn't not a conversation of why they shouldn't matter. The question is why they care to begin with, right? I mean, what good is it going to do you? Right? I mean, no doubt about it. We all are caught up in the wheel of comparison because it's just kind of human nature. We want to pay attention because, and to some degree, we all learn through emulation, but that just usually leads us astray in terms of comparison, and then we end up kind of being distracted by things that don't actually matter. But that's really, at its core, the first most important part of it is, does it help? The answer is no. I mean, I don't know there's any value that comes from paying attention.
I would say like that's one thing that like maybe the answer, yeah. So like, does it help? Like, cool. Then we actually have a question that can be answered. And I think that's one of the things that's cool about the affiliate model and the uniqueness of it is because like now you have the ability to look at somebody else's gym and you're like, as at least at this point, a case study of one, I would assume that at some point in the gym, like coaches being engaged didn't mean coaches posting on social media or like whatever the context is that you're talking about. But I assume from like what you're saying, that's where we're going with it is that like they get consistent content from their coaches for their social media or that their coaches are consistently posting about the gym or both.
Yep.
Cool. So if that is like the desirable action to have happen, like, do we know that it is actually beneficial? And like maybe that's a good thing. It's like, you're over here spinning your wheels trying to figure out how to solve this problem. And it's like, well, is this even a problem to solve? Like, and what would the first step be? And I think one of the cool things is, with us facilitating in the fit affiliate model, like a group model that is authentic to the affiliate model of like, well, like, let's talk about it. Like, let's assume nothing. Let's see if there isn't a universal defined, like set answer. Like, hey, gym owner X, since you did start getting your coaches to make one post a week, for your social media, like, have you gotten more engagement? Are you getting more leads? Are you getting more comments? Are you getting more messages? It's like, no, actually nothing's changed. But my staff's more engaged and they're more bought in and they're just more pleasurable to be around and it feels like a better environment.
Okay. Yep. And I think people see like the social media is a good example is rather than looking at what your staff are doing on the floor as being engaged or the questions that they ask about the programming or the members' progress, they see more the outward facing stuff as a reflection of how engaged their staff are. Do my staff post on social media? Do they share our posts? So on and so forth, rather than maybe looking at the, as you just said, is it a problem or are we making it one? But looking more internally about, okay, what does that engagement really mean rather than what they're seeing CrossFit Joe down the road do?
I mean, I think that a lot of those things, the bulk of this whole conversation is centered around the same conversation we always seem to have on this, which is, if you're absent of an awareness of where you would like to get to, right? If you have no real clear trajectory, no clear why, so to speak, no clear goal, you're obviously going to turn to distractions. Right? I mean, humans are notoriously bad at being bored, and the root of the whole behavior, I think, is centered around, why social media exists to begin with. It's a terribly fascinating, addictive behavior that we as humans love to engage in because it gives us stimulus. It's very easy for us to, in moments of boredom or lack of clarity, if you will, turn to the smartphone, so to speak, in your pocket and look for things to distract us, which inevitably usually lead to us identifying things that we don't have. Right? Like, all social media is essentially a curated masterpiece of all of your iniquities. Right? It's like, God forbid, if you click on the popular tab, it's everything that I don't own in the world, every sports car, every bicycle, every fucking fitness person. I'm like, this is a terrible place for me to spend my time. And, at least there's some degree of awareness of that. As it applies to the gym, as an affiliate, it's very common for affiliate owners to feel lost in the motions, right? It's a scary place. So once the dream dies and you're left with the reality, they're like, holy shit, I own this thing, and it's actually not going well. Like, it's very logical to turn to, like, what's Lisa doing, right? Like, or what's going on, and how would that help you? I'm not really sure how you could ever possibly look at what Lisa's doing to figure out, like, what I should be doing, because the whole value of the individual and affiliate model is that you're all really after something very different by doing the same thing.
And maybe it's that clarity of their own mission and the clarity of purpose and their own why that clouds that at times. But they can really, and I've done it, fall into the trap of going, okay, well, oh, look, CrossFit Joe down the road has 160 members and I've got 85. Like, what makes them different to me, or what are they doing? And then you start following and start wanting to replicate that. But in reality, they're after a very different why than what you are, perhaps. If that makes sense.
The thing that separates inspiration from distraction versus intention is simply just, is it actually going to move you towards something? And so you need to know, first and above all else, where you're trying to get to, right? Because if you knew where you were trying to get to and you were trying to achieve a specific goal and you were absent of an idea to be able to get to that point, seeking inspiration is not a bad idea, right? But if you don't really know where you're going, you're just going to end up with distractions.
Or potentially, which is, again, we seem to be tying into nice little segues today, a race to the bottom where, here we go. You see a lot of affiliates or, gyms everywhere, 1 month, free, 2 weeks for $12, well undervaluing or underpricing their service as an introductory thing. And then so you look at CrossFit Joe and go, oh, well, they're doing 2 weeks at half price. I should do 3 weeks at half price. And in reality, you're racing to the bottom. But again, once you perceive what you think someone else is doing or being successful from said tactic and then start getting into that comparison competition, it really is a downward spiral, so to speak.
Yes. Concur.
Concur. So maybe we can talk about that concept. Why, for example, I know as part of our conversations, I previously used to offer a free 7-day trial for people to come through, and it's very tempting to go back to that at times when you see everyone else doing things because it's comfortable. But why is free fatal to affiliate owners to keep providing that as an entry pathway for members?
Well, no one willingly. Go ahead.
What did you say?
I was gonna say no one willingly is gonna race to the bottom. And the problem is they're not aware that they are racing to the bottom.
Right, like yeah, that's it. It's an awareness issue because I don't think anybody would intentionally be like, what is a very bad decision that I could make for the health and future of my business? This is a decision that I want to make. Excellent. So some of it is that like it's okay to say out loud that most of us got into owning gyms because we wanted to own gyms, not because we specifically wanted to own businesses. And so like, hey, there's probably a lack of awareness of a business skill set to develop and digest. And so do you understand the nature of like money models for like, free things that exist in the marketplace successfully? Like, when you see free plus shipping and handling, do you understand how that business operates? When you see something that has a free 7-day trial, do you understand how that business operates? When you have a free trial, do you understand how your own business operates? And I think a lot of people are like, well, no, I mean, the free trial is to get them to the gym, right? It's like, yeah, but what do you pay for that free? What do you make from that free? When do you get profitable? Because all of those other examples of businesses that have, free or some like low cost, low barrier to entry, they know the answers to all of those questions. They know what they pay to acquire a customer. They know at what point they become profitable. They know what their lifetime value is. Like Walmart and McDonald's, it makes sense for them to be low price leaders because they're like, yeah, you're going to buy fucking one hamburger a week for the rest of your life. So, like, we'll get you in cheap on the front end. It's okay.
Yeah, we'll make it back. And I think, like, I just recently had a conversation with a coach going, who's saying, oh, we should go back to the free trial. We're running the classes anyway. What does it matter to add one person to the classes where it's already happening? But
The
he's
race
not
to
having.
the bottom is the culmination of the distraction conversation, right? I mean, again, like what led us here was that the reason why you're comparing yourself to other people is because you don't know where you're going, right? I mean, you have an idea that like obviously you'd like to be successful, but listen, I've conducted at this point I don't even know how many consults. Very few gyms, when asked where they're trying to get to, have any idea what the goal is or the future. They're just like, I don't know where I'm trying to get to. I just really know where I'm trying
Not
to get
here.
away from, which is here, aka like financial pain and turmoil. And so if you don't know where you're going, it would be very logical for you to somehow accidentally adopt the strategy of manipulation, which is essentially the race to the bottom, right? You have two options to get people to take action. You can inspire them to take action, or you can manipulate them to take action. Generally speaking, the bulk of the action taking people are inspired by manipulation. It works almost every single time if you're really good at it, right? Free offers and things that dropping the price, limited time only, the things work because they work. They drive scarcity, they drive urgency, and they get people to take action. However, like Chuck said, when engaging in a strategy of manipulation, it is a conversation of necessity. It's not a choice, right? Like, that based on our current pricing model and our current service model, the best, most profitable solution is to manipulate them to take action on this offer because we will intend to make the money elsewhere. Affiliate owners are generally absent of that second part of that. They adopt the manipulation because they saw what Lisa's doing, right? So they're like, I'm going to do that because she's clearly got a lot of traction going there. But generally what they're not aware of is what is the back end of the forward facing manipulation, how that business is going to make that money, right? Like I think we've talked about this before in like the Globo Gym model. It's a low utilization, right? It's a high capitalization model in that I will agree to you paying me less to be here per month with the hope that you don't show up at all. In exchange for, you're going to sign a long-term contract, at which point I'm going to continue to debit you whether you use the gym or not. That's their long-term capitalization model. Affiliate owners are like, they kind of engage in the same process with no consideration of what's the back end offer for them. Right. And so racing to the bottom isn't a matter of what's right or wrong. I'm not opposed to free trials. I think that in terms of what we're all trying to do, which is get and solve the world's problem and fight obesity, more exposure is for sure better than less exposure, right? So free trials in a lot of ways is a very logical solution to get as many people as possible in the door. The problem with that is if you've done it, we know that one, that's probably not the most effective way to influence their behavior. It is an easy way to manipulate their behavior. And so if manipulations are short-term wins for long-term losses. Inspirations are, short-term losses, long-term wins. And one of the key differentiators there in terms of like free versus not free, or free trial versus not free trial, is that I agree to be more selective in my process to ensure that I can provide you the highest quality service so that I can inspire you to take action. I don't make any assumptions nor assertions in terms of manipulation as to like lower price or otherwise, if that makes sense.
Yep. And I think some people people in general can get confused with that concept of, well, if I'm offering that free trial, that's inspiring someone to take action rather than inspiring them to take action through, giving them the belief that what they need to pursue and what they're wanting to pursue is worthwhile, as that you can provide that. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, we've definitely talked about that in the past, is like the nature of the transaction itself is a thing that facilitates identity change and belief structure change. And yeah, I think, that's important to recognize. Like Tony's talking about, really looking at like, are you actually inspiring action? Are you just kind of like forcing somebody's hand, or are you doing a thing that is, I don't know, man. It's a really interesting mindfuck, because I think of a lot of like these self-limiting beliefs and false money stories and constructs that are really common to affiliate owners, that they try to talk themselves into something that is very low price as being the most ethical thing. It's like, well, how successful is that?
Yeah.
Because if it ultimately, like, if it isn't creating success for people, yourself included, but like the clients themselves, then like you're failing the mission.
Yeah. I mean, how many affiliate owners have we? I'm sure you've heard thousands, and I know I've said it, is that I'm not here to make, to get rich. I'm here to help people. So that's where you can head down that rabbit hole.
I don't care if you ever get rich or not. I do want you to help people, but if you don't make money, you ain't going to be here long enough to make a difference.
Yep. And that's the differentiating point.
I mean,
well, and so like, not that necessarily. So, back to like free. Is free an intentional thing to deliberately solve a problem because we understand how we might engage in it? And so if you're like, you know what, I want to make the largest impact in my community possible, so I'm going to take 5 coaches, and every Saturday we're going to run 5 free public workouts at 5 different public places, and I get to give a ton of people in the community access to free fitness, but it's also, 150 fucking leads on like sign-in sheets and waivers once a week.
Yep.
Okay, well, now you're playing a different game with free. Okay, so if I pay 5 coaches this amount of money to facilitate that, and I get this many leads, do I now have an actual lead cost? Cool. Can I track these people? Cool. Can I see who I can get to in an appointment? Awesome. Like, free can be fantastic if you understand how to play the game, but for most people, free is just a thing that exists.
Yeah.
And there's not enough awareness to know like what it supports in the back end. And so because it takes so long to get profitable, usually it just loses money. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. But like, free isn't inherently bad.
Yeah.
CrossFit grew through free.
Yeah.
But it was a very different utilization of free.
Yeah. And I think some people, you can have that feeling like, well, I just want to get them into the door and hope that they like me, and then they'll stay. And once they try it, they'll understand it, because they might lack confidence around their ability to explain what they do and how they work, rather than going, oh, people have to try it to see if they like it first.
Just how fucking crazy would it be in any other context at all? Are you going to go to the restaurant that's like free food, but if you like it, then maybe you can pay us money? Or like, hey, free haircuts. If we don't fuck up too bad, maybe you'll keep coming back. Free dental. Yeah. If your teeth still work, then maybe we got a deal.
Free is fine. Free is it's an easy way to influence people to take action that would potentially otherwise not, right? People People like free shit. The only unfortunate problem is that as a business owner, try as you will, you still will always have the obligation. You have to become profitable on every single relationship. It's a non-negotiable. I get it. Profit has now become like a weird swear word almost, which is terrible. But like the purpose of being in business is, one, to improve the quality of life of the business owner, but two, to make a profit. Right. So I'm okay with you doing free. And I think that free, like Chuck said, there's lots of different ways to do free and do free really, really well. But you still have the responsibility and the obligation to the business to make sure it's profitable. If you're willing to give away something up front, it's going to take longer for you to get that money back, right? You're willingly engaging in a longer relationship to become profitable. And like, we ultimately know that churn is a conversation that is important to have, and that the average new person comes in the gym and they quit before 3 months. If it takes you 7 to 10 months to become profitable on a relationship because you decide to give away everything on the front end, well, every time one of those people quits, it drives everybody else back further, right? So it's not that free is bad. It's just that free requires a lot more work. And generally, the reason why most affiliates are doing free to begin with is to try to do less work. Because it seems easier. Like, yeah, just a free thing. Everybody's going to come in the door. But I have more people that know what to do with. But like, what they don't realize is that if they do have all those people, you're going to need to work really, really hard on all those free people, because to convert somebody from free to paying, that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of equity. It takes a lot of work. And that's why people quit. That's why it doesn't work. Like, free is a solution as it applies, but it's not the simplest, easiest solution. But the people who are doing it are typically doing it looking for the simplest, easiest solution.
Yeah. And I think some of it around, the mindset of the person that comes in for free is that, oh, well, this week it was free, but next week you want to charge me $55 for $80 for the same thing that you just did. But it was okay free last week
for 7 days. How the fuck is it all of a sudden worth a bunch?
Mm.
And you're like, plus, it's different now.
And the other issue is your existing members go, well, hang on a minute, you're going to give them, 6 weeks free, but I've been here for 6 years and I'm paying, top dollar, and they've just arrived. How come they're getting that and I'm not getting a benefit? So you have that conflict, I guess, between your existing members and and then what the fresh shiny newbies are getting.
Everybody knows free is bad. Listen, it's not groundbreaking. We already know it. Everybody, affiliate owner, knows it. What they're seeking, though, is validation to why it's going to be right? Because they've been doing it for so long. And there's two types of people. There always has been. I said this before about the seminars. People who come to the seminar, there's two types of people. Those who seek education and those who seek validation. And the gymnastics seminar was always hilarious. The room was split between two people who were there because they wanted to learn shit. And then there was a handful of people who were there because they wanted to be told they do shit great, right? And it's the same conversation as it applies to the free model, right? Everybody's well aware of the fact that free is not nearly as effective as a profitable front-end offer. But they will look and they will politic and they will debate their way to finding a way to validate what they do is right. And it's not necessarily that it's wrong. It's just that I don't think that you're going to want to do the work and make the continued investment to turn a free relationship into an expensive one, into a profitable one.
Well, even just the recognition of everything is a skill that can be learned and improved. Be like, all right, well, are we staying with a free front end offer because we recognize that we're bad at the skill of a higher ticket, higher service front end offer? Are we deliberately engaging in a low cost or free front end offer because we're really good at the skill of ascension? Or am I just doing fucking, I have no idea what?
Yeah. Am I doing free because I don't know what those other things are and I don't know how to do that? I don't have another option. It's like free. Everyone can do free, but feeling like you're having that uncomfortable conversation with somebody where you want to ask for $1,500, $1,800, even $300 up front before they've even tried anything with you can feel really icky and difficult. And so it's like, oh, free, just come in free. I don't have to have that conversation.
free is the business equivalent of like running as a fitness equivalent. It's like, you want to get in shape, what do you do? I mean, just run, I guess, because you can at least put one foot in front of the other, and like if you can do it at one given pace, you can try to go either faster or longer, both. Neat. Like, if you own a business, like, well, we can always give some shit away to see if people are interested in the shit that we have. So it creates an immediate, at least I can do this.
Yeah. And it's that feeling like you've got control and you can do something. Or you are doing something. Cool. I think that was a good chat where we kind of covered a broad range of things today, gentlemen. Lots of good stuff in there. So thank you for your time, and we will chat again soon.
Bid you farewells.
Thank you, my friend, for listening to the Fit Affiliate Podcast. If you would be interested in hopping on a free call with us to just kind of chat about what you think your problems are and what you think the gap is between where you're at and where you want to go, we can see if maybe we can help you along that journey, figure out if we're all a good fit to do some sweet things together. So click the link, set up a consult. Let's help you identify some problems that we can mutually solve.